Uh-oh.
Good evening, everyone. What a perfect night for a webinar. I am Ella Lacey, former president of the Carbondale branch of AAUW. I am standing in tonight for our current president, Sarah Faye Martin, who expresses her most heartfelt regrets that she could not be with us tonight. I'm here first to just say Happy New Year, and then to welcome each and every participant to this very exciting program, which makes us so proud to say that we will legitimately have another experience as the Crossroads of America for the solar eclipse of April 8, 2024. We appreciate so much that you are sharing this evening with us, and we expect that you will have an exciting evening and relax, enjoy, be stimulated, and participate fully. Thank you so much. And Martha Ellert will present a few things about our membership and program for tonight.
Thank you, Ella. I'd like to say just a few words about American Association of University Women, or AAUW, before introducing the speaker. AAUW is actually a very old organization. At the same time, it's very much up to the minute and weighs in on issues relating to gender equity. Being an old organization, it was founded in 1881. So for over 140 years, AAUW has been a leading voice promoting equity in education for women and girls. We have over 170,000 members and 1,000 local branches. Mission statement is very simple: gender equity and economic security. The membership is open to anyone, male or female, holding an associate's or equivalent degree from a regionally accredited institution. As for being relevant in the present, AAUW has published hundreds of research reports, has supported the academic achievements of many thousands of scholars, from Marie Curie to the astronaut Judith Resnick and many more. Also has advocated for many new laws that have helped women: Equal Pay Act, Title IX Amendment, Family and Medical Leave Act, and the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. The national organization provides fellowships, grants, and awards, and it's one of the largest scholarship programs for women in the world. AAUW also funds pioneering research on women, girls, and education. and through the Legal Advocacy Fund, it challenges sex discrimination in higher education and the workplace. Now, our Carbondale branch was founded in 1927. But we've been around for quite a while, the branch has. Our ways of doing things have certainly changed and evolved through the intervening almost 100 years. But our core mission has been the same, to advance gender equity for women and girls. We host monthly programs like this one through September through May, and everyone is welcome to attend any of our programs. We work to achieve our mission by awarding scholarships to women students at SIU. And we would welcome anyone who shares our goals to join AAUW. Through a special program, anyone attending this event, virtually or however, can do so at a much reduced introductory rate for the first year. And if anyone is interested in joining or just getting more information, you may inquire through our Facebook page, which is Carbondale Branch AAUW, or you may send me an email. I think it was supposed to be on the screen, but I don't see it. Anyway, S as in Sam, ELLERT at AOL.com. Now it'll be my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. And I'd like to say first that if you have questions, and there will be questions afterwards, that you should enter them in the Q&A box. So, Dr. Corinne Brevik was born and raised in Western Washington State. She earned a bachelor's in physics from Montana State University, and a master's and PhD in astrophysics and planetary science from the University of Colorado. Now at Southern Illinois University, she's a member of the School of Physics, part of the steering committee for the eclipse planning efforts at SIU, and she is the team coordinator for the DEB, Dynamic Eclipse Broadcasting Initiative. I'm sure that you all probably know both the August 2017 total eclipse and the upcoming April 8th, 2024 total solar eclipse paths cross right over our community, making Carbondale the eclipse crossroads of America. And this amazing alignment has allowed Southern Illinois University to take the lead on an exciting citizen science project, the DEB initiative, involving some 70 telescope teams all over the country. We are so pleased to have Dr. Brevik with us this evening to tell us all about the exciting things that the DEB is doing, as well as answer any questions that may come up related to eclipse activities planned for April. My great pleasure to introduce Dr. Corinne Brevik.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen with everyone so that we can see the slides. Here we go. So I'd like to take just a minute and talk about eclipses in general, kind of what's going on with the total solar eclipse. And then we'll talk about the DEB initiative and kind of its Citizen Kate, its predecessor, and then where this is all going, because there's all sorts of amazing things coming up in April that we want to make sure everybody's aware of. So let's start with just solar eclipses. Just kind of as a review, things that I'm sure you saw in 2017 if you were around. A total solar eclipse can only occur during a new moon. So they can only happen once a month, and then the alignment has to be perfect. So we don't see one every month, but during a new moon, if the moon passes between the sun and the earth, and if the alignment is just right, then the moon will cover up the sun, and we see the sun disappear and the atmosphere of the sun show up behind it. This only works because the moon appears to be about the same size as the sun. Obviously, the moon is much, much smaller, but it's also much, much closer. In our lifetime, those two disks are about the same size, and so they can cover each other up. If you were on the Earth 4 billion years ago, the moon was much closer to the Earth, so it would have been much larger in the sky. Over time, the moon is moving away from the Earth, so eventually the moon will be too small to cover up the sun, and solar eclipses will be a thing of the past. We don't have to worry about that so much, but it is slowly happening. Okay. Now, turns out that we can only get total solar eclipses twice a year. because the moon's orbit is tilted. So if the moon orbited in the same plane as the rest of the solar system, then the moon would always be between the sun and the earth. Every new moon would cause a solar eclipse and they wouldn't be nearly as rare. But the moon's orbit is tilted and it's only a 5-degree tilt. But that 5 degrees is enough that often the moon is a little too high or the moon is a little too low and the alignment is not perfect. In order to see the total solar eclipse when it actually does happen, you have to be in the shadow of the moon. And the picture shown here on the screen is an actual photo taken from the Mir space station. So that was the Soviet space station that was up in the late 90s. And you're looking at the actual shadow of the moon cast on the Earth. And you'll notice that shadow is not very big compared to the huge size of the Earth. So the people who were in that shadow get to see the eclipse. Everybody else doesn't even notice anything's happening. So it not only doesn't happen very often, but you have to be in just the right spot to catch it. And that shadow moves since the moon is orbiting the Earth and the Earth itself is spinning. That dot traces a path across the planet. So that shadow, when you see maps, you'll usually see a path. It shows you the path of that dot. So not everybody even sees it at the same time. So you want to be somewhere along that path of the shadow to catch the total solar eclipse. Okay. Which brings us to, where do these things happen? So this is from a website called timeanddate.com. I highly recommend it if you're looking for eclipse information. You can go to this and enter your location, and it will tell you when the eclipse will start and end at your spot, and it will tell you eclipses going forward in the future. So if we look at this map, this has 10 solar eclipses marked on it. Number 4 is the eclipse that happened last October, and that was what we call an annular eclipse. So it wasn't a total solar eclipse, but close. Number 5, though, is the path of the total solar eclipse happening in April. So that's the path we want to be on. This particular solar eclipse will go from about Mazatlan, Mexico, up through Maine and into the Atlantic islands of Canada. If you miss this one, then the next one that will cross through the United States is not for 21 years. So you got to come back in 2045 to catch the next coast-to-coast eclipse in the US. Or you can travel. So the next easy to get to one would be the one marked number 8. That total solar eclipse is going to hit Iceland and Spain. So you got a couple of years before you can catch that one, right? So they don't happen very often. And you'll notice you've got to be in exactly the right spot. Southern Illinois is the magic right spot. So we are exactly on the path of both the 2017 eclipse and the 2024 eclipse. And that's very rare and it's very exciting. For a lot of eclipse watchers, to catch an eclipse twice in the same spot is like a major bucket list item because it just doesn't happen, right? If you go back to this, you'll notice they don't cross very often. So for us to magically be in that crossroads is hugely significant. So let me share with you a little bit about a project that was done in 2017. So in 2017, the eclipse went from Oregon to South Carolina. And in that case, we had a project called Citizen Kate, and that was a citizen science experiment. So anytime you do a citizen science experiment, you get a bunch of volunteers from, in this case, across the country. They're not necessarily professional astronomers. Some of them are school teachers, school kids. Some of them are amateur astronomers. They come from a variety of backgrounds. Some of them are people who've never used telescopes before, but they want to get involved. And we teach them how to use the equipment. In this case, we had 70 telescopes that were spread across the path of the eclipse. And the goal was to image the inner corona. And the corona is the atmosphere of the sun. So we're trying to image parts of the sun that are hard to see. Normally, when you look at the sun, you see the surface, what we call the photosphere, but you don't see the corona. So eclipses give us this unique opportunity. And this was an amazing experiment in 2017. It was highly successful. We had fantastic teams that collected a lot of images, and we were able to take that data they collected, and the team was able to publish in the scientific journals. There were several articles that came out of it. So not only is this an amazing experience to learn how to use a telescope and image the eclipse, but these teams are collecting science quality data, which is absolutely fantastic. So 2017 Citizen Kate, highly successful. So here comes 2024. And if you did it once, why would you not do it again? But you don't want to do the same thing again, right? You got to do something more. So our new project is taking advantage of that. And we actually got 2 eclipses to take advantage of. So we're in the path of the 2024 eclipse, but last October, there was also an annular eclipse. And the picture on the right is the annular. When an annular eclipse happens, the moon is just a little too far away than normal. And so the moon looks a little too small and it doesn't quite cover up the sun. So you get this annulus, you get a ring of the sun still showing. So in October, there was an annular eclipse that went from Oregon down through Texas. We were not in the path of that, but the project's going to take advantage of that. And then the total eclipse is in April. Okay, so this is the Dynamic Eclipse Broadcast Initiative. This is the next step after the Citizen Kate experiment. So our goal this time was to have 70 or more teams, and I think we're up to almost 80 teams at the moment, so we're super excited. One of the big differences is this time we have telescopes located both inside that eclipse path and outside the eclipse path. And this is exciting because if you're in the path of the eclipse, when you take an image, you get the atmosphere, you get the corona. But if we see flares or ejections coming off of the sun, you can't tell where they came from because you're not looking at the surface. Well, the teams that are outside the path, they don't get to see the corona. They're going to image the whole sun. So we have teams that will see the atmosphere, and we have teams that will see the surface, which allows us to backtrack. If we see an eruption happening, then we can go back to other images and figure out where did that come from and why did that happen? So we have these almost 80 teams now. Just like in 2017, these are volunteer citizen science groups. We have middle schools, we have high schools, we have college teams, we have amateur astronomy teams, and then we have some teams who've never done this before ever. This is their first telescope ever, and they're learning how to use it. We actually also have 20 all-girl groups who were part of the project. They come from 4-H, Girl Scouts, FFA, Boys and Girls Club, a whole bunch of teams that are doing this for the first time. So that's super fun and exciting. Okay, so this project, we observed both the annular and the total solar eclipse. The map you're looking at is where our teams were for the annular event. So the ones marked in orange were the ones that were in the path. The ones marked in purple are the teams who were out of the path of the annular in October. Now, the weather was not particularly friendly around here for the annular. We were going to have a partial and most of us got clouded out. But we had some teams that were in the path that got really great data. So I'll show you some of that in a minute. This map is our map for team placement for the total solar eclipse in April. So all the ones marked in orange are our teams that are in the path, and there's a lot of overlap. So we will be able to track the total solar eclipse from the time it enters Mexico, going across and up to the Canadian seaboard. We'll be able to see that eclipse the entire time that it's passing through North America. So here's the equipment. All of our teams are using the exact same telescope. We have a grant from NASA and another one from NSF, and those provided a lot of the teams their equipment. And for perspective, that telescope is about yay big. It's not very large. Like we always think of telescopes as being these big monster things. This little guy, he's like 6-8 inches long. But it's got really good optics. So it collects really nice solar images. So the teams that were given equipment by the grant will get to keep the equipment, which means they can then use that telescope to do public outreach. They can do recruiting. They can do other work in their schools, but they will have that telescope to use forever. Other teams bought their own equipment. So the whole setup costs about $1,800, which includes the laptop that runs it. So for telescopes, that's pretty good. The exciting thing is the data they're collecting is science quality, just like the previous experiment. So we're going to be collecting data that we can run science calculations on when this is over. This is for fun, but it's for science. Like this is high quality data, and these little telescopes take amazing images. And the other part of this, because it's a Dynamic Eclipse Broadcast initiative, is that we will be broadcasting nationwide near real-time images during the eclipse. The near real-time part comes because the images get collected and they get processed by the computer and then released. So instead of just releasing the raw pictures, which look okay, but we can run them through a short program that makes them look much nicer. So what we'll be broadcasting are these high quality images. So people can tune in from anywhere across the country, and they'll be able to watch the eclipse all the way across North America. And we'll be streaming that out. NASA Edge is part of our team that will be helping us pull in feeds. And then we're working with WSIU at off of PBS. And then we'll also be doing a live stream on YouTube Live. And so there'll be lots of opportunities to catch these images as they're released. So here's just kind of an example. This picture shows 5 different teams. Now, this is when we were still testing equipment, so all the telescopes don't look the same. But you're seeing 5 teams collecting images of the sun all at exactly the same time. And that's ultimately what we're after, right? We're getting all these images coming in. And again, this is a practice run, not the eclipse itself. So why would we do this, right? What's the point? During the 2023 annular eclipse, the one that happened in October, we were looking at the edge of the sun and the edge of the moon. So that's what we mean by the limb. So when the moon passes over the sun, the moon's not flat, right? It's got all these mountains and valleys. And so the sunlight goes through those mountains and valleys, and it creates all these extra bright spots that allow us to study the edges of the sun and the moon. During the total solar eclipse, though, we'll be able to study that atmosphere that only shows up during an eclipse. So we'll be imaging the surface and the atmosphere. That's going to allow us to look for eruptions coming off the sun, track those eruptions back to the surface and figure out why they're happening and where they're coming from. And then we'll also be able to line up a bunch of the images and create a movie of the total solar eclipse as it progresses. And as I mentioned, we'll be broadcasting. So we have all these fun things we want to be working on. The image to the right is an image from our actual Deb telescope. Those big dots look like freckles. Those are sunspots. And the image is way better than it looks like when you do it over Zoom. So it's a much higher quality. It's actually really impressive. Okay, so here's some examples. This is a total solar eclipse, and you can see all the streamers and all the magnetic field lines coming off of the sun. And normally all that material that's in the corona is invisible. We only get it during a total solar eclipse. And if you look at the very top, there's actually a prominence sticking up there, which is fun. Here's 2 other pictures. The one on the right is showing the eclipse in progress. So that's not totality. You're seeing the moon over the sun. The one on the right shows the diamond ring effect. So this is what you get right when the moon lands over the sun. There's a last moment of flare of light as light passes through those valleys on the moon, and eventually you get one bright flare. So that's the diamond ring. This particular eclipse, you can see there's some nice prominences showing kind of in the like 7, 8 o'clock positions on that sun. So those are images we can take with our actual equipment. And then this is a movie that one of our teams created during the annular eclipse. So you can see the moon moving in front of the sun. You get perfect annularity, and then the moon moving off. And so that's a time lapse of all the images that that particular team recorded. So there's all sorts of fun things we can do. Beyond the data we'll be collecting and analyzing, remember the teams get to keep their telescopes. So we have additional projects that teams will be able to take part in. So if a team is really excited and they want to do more and they want to learn more, these telescopes are pretty high quality telescopes. So we will actually be able to use them to look for planets around other stars. That top graph is actually what we call a light curve of a star. And when the planet passes in front of it, the amount of light given off by the star drops just a little bit. And so you're seeing this brightness of the star, and that little bitty dip in brightness tells us about the planet that moved in front of it. So our teams that want to will be able to look for planets around other stars. We'll also be able to look at stars that change their brightness. And so that's what the picture at the bottom is. That's the graph of an object that's changing its brightness over time using these telescopes. If teams are interested, they can look at climate changes that affect the atmosphere that we look through. We can also look at lunar eclipses, and we can study changes in the Earth's shadow as it moves across the lunar eclipse. So there's all sorts of follow-on projects that a team can do if they want to do more, because they've got the telescopes, and so we can collect additional data. So we've got project short-term we're really working on, and then we have big plans in the future. Okay, so that's the Dynamic Eclipse Broadcast Initiative. It's these 80 telescopes spread across the whole US that are going to be providing these feeds that we'll use for both science and to share with everybody. The other thing I want to share with you is what's happening in Carbondale during the total solar eclipse on April 8th. So we are the eclipse crossroads of America, right, where the 2 eclipses passed. So if you were here in 2017, we had a big festival on campus. 2024, we're going to have another big festival. It'll look similar, but it's not going to be exactly the same. We've added things, we've taken a few things out. We always get smarter and wiser. So we learned a lot of lessons in 2017. The pictures you're seeing are all from the 2017 total solar eclipse. So the eclipse is April 8th. That's a Monday. The festival is that whole weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday is the Eclipse Festival. Most of it is free. It's open to the public. People are welcome to come, visit, come and go as they want. We have a Comic-Con that will be Saturday and Sunday of that weekend. That one is ticketed. So that and the Eclipse Day at SIUC Stadium are the only one that require tickets. But the Comic-Con is always a blast. So there's a Comic-Con that weekend. There'll be an eclipse research workshop happening on that Saturday. We have a ton of teams from all across the country who are coming to Carbondale to do other research projects. So they have something they want to study. We have space and room to share with them. And so we can give them a home for the weekend. There's also an Astronomy, Science, and Technology Expo. That's on Sunday and Monday. That one's free and open to the public. There's going to be hands-on activities for families. Our inflatable planetarium will be up. Groups that have telescopes and other technology will be displaying that. So that's the expo. And we're still looking for vendors for that. So if you know someone who's got a technology type thing they would like to share, we'd love to have them join us. Sunday and Monday, we also have an arts and crafts fair on campus that's free and open to everybody. And again, we still are taking vendors for that one as well. And then we have the big event, which is Eclipse Day at SIUC Stadium. This one, last year we had the stadium, or in 2017, sorry, we had the stadium filled with people. We have eclipse glasses for everyone who comes into the stadium. And the cool thing about the stadium is that it's a guided eclipse tour. So when I talk to a lot of people who didn't see 2017, they're not sure what to look at, right? What am I looking at? When should I look? That's part of the guided eclipse viewing. We will walk people through, look now, you're looking for this, watch out for that, check this out. But beyond that, Adler Planetarium will be there. NASA and NASA Edge will be there. So we have a lot of experts. We'll be bringing in interviews and discussions and activities. So this Eclipse Day in SIUC Stadium is not 3 hours of sitting and just watching the sun, which even I think would be boring. Instead, it's going to be highly interactive, lots of interviews. We'll be pulling those telescope feeds. So we'll be able to be like, hey, here's the eclipse happening in Mexico. Here it is crossing into the US, right? We'll be able to track it, which also means we're good to go regardless of the weather. It's April. You never know. Fingers crossed. If you have connections with the weather people, help us out. But we have a great backup plan because even if we don't get to see the eclipse, we're going to be pulling in live feeds. There's no way the whole country can be cloudy, right? So we'll have good views. All the information for the eclipse on campus is at eclipse.siu.edu. We highly encourage people in the community to come and check stuff out. If you don't want to watch the eclipse with us on campus, not a problem. Come check out the Arts and Crafts Fair or the Technology Expo, especially if you have family coming to town. A lot of people are going to have full houses and you're like, now what do I do with them? Drag them onto campus and get them out of your house for a little bit, right? We'll have hands-on activities for the kids on Sunday. We have entire busloads of school kids coming from various places across the country. And so it's family friendly. We're happy to have people join us, and the more the merrier. It'll be fun. Okay, so if you have questions, my contact info is there. And then I've also included the DEB Initiatives website and the website for the Eclipse Festival on the SIU campus. Questions? What would you like to know? So there's a question in the chat about talks on campus ahead of time. So what I didn't mention is we have a talk series on campus that's happening the first Friday of every month. So the next talk is, we skipped January because the students were gone. So the next talk is on February 2nd, March 1st, and April 5th. So the first Friday of every month, those are at 3 o'clock in Guyon Auditorium. So in the Morris Library, those are free and open to the public, and they've been really good. In February, we have a presentation by HD Modal, who did the documentary for the 27 eclipse. So he'll be talking about that. In March, I think I have the people from NASA who do the Parker Solar Probe, which is a spacecraft orbiting the sun. They'll be talking. And then in April, Lou Mayo, who's a big heliophysicist and highly involved in the Planetary Society, will be giving a talk. So those are always a lot of fun. They're aimed at the general public, no background required. So first Friday of every month, 3 p.m., Morris Library. We'd love to have people join us. Or if you can't be there in person, on that eclipse.siu.edu website, there's a link to join in via Zoom. So you're welcome to catch us remotely if that time does not work for you.
Okay, there are no more questions in the chat. Here's a question in the Q&A. When does the eclipse start and how long is totality?
Good question. Okay, so totality depends on where you are, but in Carbondale, totality is 4 minutes and 9 seconds, which is almost twice as long as 2017. So it's going to get darker. It'll be dark for longer. So I'm super excited. So totality starts at 1:59 p.m. So just before 2 o'clock. The eclipse is about an hour and a half before totality and about an hour and a half after. So around 12:30 is when the sun will first make contact with the moon. And then there'll be an hour and a half. Totality is just before 2 p.m. And then there'll be another hour and a half after that. And if you're not going to be in Carbondale and you want to know the exact time of totality in your location, check out that timeanddate.com because they will tell you exact times for any location in the world.
Any other questions? I don't see any other questions in the chat nor the Q&A. Okay,
okay, there's a question in the chat that just popped out about traffic. So we learned a lot in 2017. So the question is, what is being done about traffic? So we have designated parking lots on campus, and we've opened up more lots than we had in 2017. So in 2017, we had the carnival on campus. We're not doing that again. We didn't have that good of attendance, so that opens up more lots. So we have better traffic flow on and off campus. As far as the community goes, anytime you leave an event, the minute it's over, you run into like gobs of traffic, right? It's like leaving the fireworks, or if you leave a game, right when everybody leaves. What I've been recommending to everyone is like when the eclipse is over, go get an adult beverage, right? Or take your family out and have a meal and then head home. That makes all the difference in the world. If you wait like a half an hour, an hour before you try to leave Carbondale, it will clear out a huge amount. If you try to leave when everybody else does, you're going to be stuck in the traffic flow. So kind of plan ahead. We're going to have activities on campus going for a while after. So hang out with us for a bit. And then when you take off, it shouldn't be so bad. Question says, where are good spots in and around Carbondale to view? You can see the eclipse literally from all of Southern Illinois. So your backyard, a park, as long as you can see the sun around 2 o'clock, you'll be able to see totality. So we'd love to have you join us on campus if you want the guided experience. If you just want to like have a private event, literally anywhere in Southern Illinois is going to be awesome. What I would recommend is find a spot that looks really good. Go out like a week ahead of time at 2 o'clock and make sure you can see the sun and it's not behind a tree or behind a building, and you'll be good. What you don't want to do is end up in a parking lot, though, that has lights that turn on when it gets dark, because it's going to get dark and those street lights are going to come on, and that would be very annoying. So check out, make sure there's no lights like that. Otherwise, anywhere is good. There's going to be a big event at Giant City State Park. We have one of our Deb teams that will be there if you want to kind of get out of town. But yeah, literally we are in the magic spot. So anywhere you want to be. I talked to people who were on Crab Orchard Lake and they intend to be on a canoe, right? It's all good.
Here's another question. Is there a way for SIU students to get involved with the initiative or activities?
So that actually brings up a really good point. So thank you for that question. There's actually a way for everybody to get involved. I should have mentioned on that eclipse.siu.edu website, there is a place to volunteer. We need hundreds of volunteers. In 2017, we had 30,000 people on campus and about 50,000 people in the community. Now, we don't know that we'll be that big again in 2024, but we need all the help we can get. So if people want to volunteer for any of these individual activities, they are welcome to do so. Just go to eclipse.siu.edu and In the next couple of weeks, a volunteer sheet will go up so you can actually go in and say, I want to help with the Arts and Crafts Festival at this time, or I want to help with the Eclipse event at this time. If you're helping with like the Comic-Con or the stadium event, you get in free. And then beyond that, if you want to help with the telescope viewing, email me. We have 2 astrophotography teams on the SIU campus that are gearing up for the eclipse. So if you want to learn how to do astrophotography, we always need more students. At least one of those teams will be traveling the day of the eclipse to get somewhere else to see it from a second location. So just send me an email. And all the registered student organizations on campus are welcome to come up with activities. We encourage them to come up with activities. And we have a place on the Eclipse website where they can tell us what they would like to do. So if a group wants to run a adopt a pet day or whatever, like we can incorporate that into our event. We'd love to have that. The more imaginative you can be, the better.
So will SIU have a star party one night before the eclipse?
There are star parties not directly related to the eclipse, but once a month. So if you, I don't know the dates off the top of my head, but if you visit physics.siu.edu, so physics.siu.edu, within the next week or so, dates for spring observing should go up. So we do free telescope observing once a month on the roof of Neckers, open to the public. We fire up the telescopes and spend a couple hours checking out whatever's up in the sky. So you're welcome to join us any month this semester for telescope viewing. I have.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's a question that says, where can one find the specs for the telescope being used for the project? If you want to email me, I can get that information to you.
And then someone else wants to know, will the glasses be available to citizens?
So SIU has glasses for everyone who is planning to attend the stadium event. So that would be the people who buy tickets, and we have free tickets to SIU students. We have glasses for everybody, for all the students on the SIU campus. We are not providing glasses to the community as a whole. So if you want to buy Eclipse glasses, I highly recommend, first of all, buy them now, because come March, you're not going to be able to find good ones. They're going to be all sold out. And then the company is, oh, hold on, I'm having a moment. Give me a sec, it'll pop into my head. There's a company we do a lot of work with that has good glasses. Let me stop sharing and see if I can pull that up, because my brain has blanked. If anybody else has got a question, we can do that while I look for this.
Do we know if the city will be providing free glasses again?
I have not heard. The library, maybe. That would be the place I would check. But I do not know. Oh, okay, I found it. So it's called Rainbow Symphony. So there are other companies as well, but I highly recommend Rainbow Symphony. They provide very high quality glasses that are safe and good to use, and you can buy them directly from them. Or if you have glasses left over from 2017, you can use those as well. They don't go bad. However, what you do want to do is hold them up and look through them. If you can see any pinpoints of light, they're no good. Don't use them. But if you hold them up and it's still dead dark, you're good. So if you kept your glasses from 2017, they're fine. Just check them first. But yes, you can order them from Rainbow Symphony, ask the library, or come on to the SIU campus.
The library will be giving them out at some events prior to the eclipse, but will be closed on the day of the eclipse, and we're not just going to be handing them out for people walking into the library. We didn't have enough last time. It just turned into a little bit, just so many people coming in and asking for them that we thought directing them to SIU might be a little bit easier this time. So, but watch for our events where we'll be giving some away.
Okay. And do you know the cost for the stadium event?
Yeah, so the stadium event is $25 per person. And that covers entrance, your glasses, the whole show. NASA's going to be there. Adler's going to be there.
Is that the cost for adults and children?
Yes, it's just flat out $25 per person. However, if a school is coming, we have reduced ticket prices for like a class of kids who are coming or an entire school who's coming. But otherwise, it's just a flat fee. And that's to get into the stadium. You can be anywhere on campus at no charge. It's just the stadium show that's ticketed, that and the Comic-Con. Everything else is free.
Then I think that's it for questions, ladies.
All right. If you have further questions, please do shoot me an email directly, or you can email eclipse@siu.edu and someone will get back to you. So we're happy to be of help.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Brevik. That was absolutely fascinating, and your enthusiasm is just so contagious. I know we're all looking forward to April 8th with a lot of anticipation, so thank you again. My name is Jo Pichard, and I'm the Program Vice President for the AAUW Carbondale branch, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our next month's program. February is Black History Month, and our program will be held Tuesday, February 20th. And due to our topic, this meeting is taking place a week later than usual in order to not be in conflict with the Carbondale City Council meeting. The title of the program is Meet the Mayor. We will be in person at the African American Museum in the University Mall. So this is your opportunity to have an intimate conversation with the mayor. Carolyn Harvey, the first African American mayor of Carbondale, will introduce herself to AAUW and provide us with the opportunity to ask as many questions as we like. The Carbondale City Council, with more diversity than ever before in its history, will also be represented. The business meeting will begin at 6, followed by the social time and refreshments at 6:30 and the program at 7. And we invite all of you to attend, to join us, and I think you'll be pleased with the program. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Dr. Brevik. You were amazing. We look forward to seeing all of you in person in February. Good night.